Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we have to talk about the trade-in issue because it is becoming a huge problem for dealers and consumers. Before getting to this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. So first off, I need to describe what a trade-in actually is. This is the process where you as a consumer sells your vehicle to a dealership, and that dealership in turn sells you their vehicle. And so, right, it's a trade. That's why they call it a trade-in. And so if you just straight up sell a vehicle to a dealership, that's not a trade-in. If you sell your vehicle to a private party and then go buy a vehicle from a dealership, that's not a trade-in. If you have a dealership sell your car for you in the form of consignment, that is not a trade-in. It's only considered a trade-in when it is all completed via one transaction where you're selling your car to a dealership for a car that they are then selling to you. And now we need to dive into some statistics with trade-ins. So the first one that's very important is the time span in which most people trade in their vehicle, and currently it's like 2 to 3 years. It's no wonder why everyone in the US is in tons of auto loan debt. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just kidding. But that's what the average person does nowadays. They just always need a new car. And so this is very important for both new and used car dealers because they basically built their business models around having this reoccurring customer base every 2 to 3 years. Now, the next thing is how many transactions actually contain trade-ins, and this is actually pretty surprising. So with used car transactions, only about 20% contain a trade-in. So that means that 80% of people that are buying a used car already sold their car before they bought the used car, or they're just straight up buying a used car. When it comes to new car transactions, it's a little bit higher. Over 40% of new car transactions have a trade-in, but that still means that the majority of people buying a new car don't have any sort of trade-in. So they're either doing a consignment type deal, they already sold their car, or they're just straight up buying a car. And I actually want to dive a little bit deeper on the last point. Now, this is more on the anecdotal side of things, but I still think that it's important to mention. Whenever I talk to dealers about trade-ins, the trend that I've been noticing over the last couple of years is that there are fewer and fewer trade-ins. What dealers tell me is that they see more customers just going and selling their cars before they buy a new car because they're trying to get retail out of their car, especially, with what was happening last year where car prices just went so high. People are like, yep, I'll just sell my car and get top dollar for it. And then now what's happening is dealers are saying that people are retailing out of them because they have to, because the trade-in values are so low that the people just can't afford to trade in their car. But the other big shift is that more and more customers are requesting that dealers do a consignment deal with their vehicle. What consignment is this is where a dealer will sell a car for a customer. And if you're wondering why a customer would want to do this and why a dealer would want to do this, well, on the customer side of things, this means the customer can get full retail out of their vehicle instead of trade-in value. And then since the dealer is selling their car for them, the customer doesn't have to deal with the whole sales experience. And then on top of that, since it's at a dealership, a lot more people are going to look at it rather than just some, private listing on a third-party website. And so it's usually a pretty good situation for the customer. Now for the dealer, usually they'll charge some sort of consignment fee to the customer, so they'll make a little bit of money there. But the other thing is that it helps them build a really good relationship with the customer because they're able to help that customer get full retail out of their vehicle, which means that the customer is then getting a better deal on the vehicle they're buying from that dealership because instead of getting trade-in value on their car, they're getting full retail. So they're technically paying less money for the car that they're buying as opposed to if they did a regular trade-in. So then that means that customers are more likely to buy more vehicles from that dealership in the future. And this is something that has, like I said, absolutely exploded over the last couple of years. When I worked in the car business, this wasn't even a thing that we talked about. Like, consignment wasn't something that was happening. Whereas now, almost every single dealership has vehicles that are consigned, and there are some dealerships where almost all their inventory is cars that are under consignment. And this actually puts these dealers in a pretty interesting situation because that means that they don't actually own the inventory that they have, which is probably a blessing with everything that we've been seeing because, again, used car prices have been absolutely plummeting. Again, the retail prices are still, coming down at a slow rate, but the wholesale prices they've been destroyed over the last 6 months. And so these dealers, they didn't take as big of a hit as other dealers because it's not them that's taking a hit. It's their customers that have those cars consigned that's actually taking a hit. So I guess that's a pretty interesting. And this leads directly into the main topic of this video, and that is talking about this whole trade-in issue. So let's first talk about how this is affecting the consumer. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because, well, most of you watching this video are consumers and you kind of already know what is happening. So because of the decline in wholesale values, this means that trade-in values have declined by a massive amount. And so chances are, if you've been working on a car deal recently and gotten a trade-in value on your car, you've probably found that your car is not worth nearly as much as what you thought it was worth. Even if you've looked at book values over the last week or so, you've probably found that the trade-in values don't match up with those book values. Again, the wholesale market is declining at such a fast rate that book values cannot keep up. And so this is just pushing a lot of people out of the car market because they're either upside down, as in they owe more on their car than what it's worth, or their car's just lost so much value that they just don't see the point in trading in their car. It's like, if it's, right, it's that situation where it's like, if my car's only worth this amount, like there's no point in trading in, and I might as well just keep it. It's better as a paperweight than as a trade-in with that value. And so yeah, it's just pushing consumers out of the market. Now, when it comes to dealers, this obviously is having a heavy impact on them. Now, first off, with used car lots, it's obviously devastating because, well, used car lots sell used cars. And where do they get used cars from? Well, trade-ins and auction. And I've talked about this over the course of several videos, but the auction is an absolute mess right now. There's a lot of fraud happening, and cars just frankly are still overpriced at auction. I mean, right now we have a take rate of under 50% on average with most auctions. And so that means that like nobody wants to buy cars at the auction. So again, that leads them to trade-ins, and people aren't trading in cars right now. So used car lots are actually in a situation where their inventory is starting to just like dwindle. And this actually creates a positive feedback loop, because if they have less inventory to sell, that means they have less customers that are going to come and look at their inventory, which means that they're going to have less trade-ins, which means that they're going to have even less inventory to sell. And it just keeps, again, positive feedback loop to the point where they're in a situation which is really bad. And then if you stack on the whole wholesale value decline situation on top of this, well, the inventory that they happen to have is overpriced because they paid too much for it just a few months ago. And so used car dealers, it's a complete mess. Now, when it comes to new car dealerships, it's also really painful for them because most new car dealerships are actually used car lots in disguise. The new car dealership that I worked at, for example, sold more used cars than new cars most of the time. And this is just because, well, used cars on average are a little bit cheaper than new cars, and so they're just easier to sell. They just have, a larger buyer base. And I mean, the national statistics give this. Like on an average year, the new car market is going to sell anywhere from like 15 to 17 million cars, whereas the used car market is going to be closer to like 40 million cars, right? There's just a lot more consumers for used cars. And so again, if new car dealerships are getting fewer trade-ins, then they have less inventory to sell, which means they have to go to auction if they want to get cars. But again, you don't want to go to auction right now. And so one of the biggest profit centers for new car dealerships is slowly eroding away. And again, they have the same issue that used car lots have, where they did overpay for some inventory. Now, the good thing about new car dealers is because the trade-in rate is a little bit higher at a new car dealership than a used car dealership, that actually puts them in a better position to where their inventory isn't usually as upside down as what you'll see with a lot of the used car lots. Let's talk about what this is going to do to dealerships, and then we'll finish things up with how you can use this information to help you out. So first off, with used car lots, this is just another nail in the coffin. Again, the whole wholesale value decline is already in a monstrosity. Like it's super difficult to deal with, and you add that to this whole trade-in situation, and yeah, there are a bunch of used car lots that are going to go out of business within the next 6 to 12 months, mark my words. Even less than that. Some will even go to business within the next 3 months, I bet. Just you wait. So the liquidations of these used car lots will surely put even more downward pressure on the used car market, which again, it's like a positive feedback loop, which would then put even more dealers out of business. And so yeah, lots of pain for used car dealers. Now, when it comes to new car dealerships, again, this is a pain point for them. And so what you're most likely going to see over the next 6 to 12 months is that new car dealerships are just going to have fewer and fewer used cars, because right now new car manufacturing is ramping up with most brands. And so you're going to see that the new car side of things is going to have more and more vehicles, but then, like I said, the used car side of things is not going to have as many because less people are trading in. And then also right now, less unless people are just frankly purchasing new vehicles because they've gotten so dang expensive. And so you're just going to see that shift at the dealership. And I'm sure that it'll eventually, hit some point where, there will be enough incentive on these new vehicles that people will finally start trading in again. And, there's always enough people that just don't want to deal with the whole selling their own car process that they'll just trade in the vehicle even if they're going to take a massive hit. And so with new car dealers, I don't really see them going out of business or anything because of this situation. But what I do see is just a shift in their inventory. And I'm frankly already starting to see this. Like there are some dealerships that I filmed for that were basically just like all used cars. And now their used car inventory is just shrinking day by day, but their new car inventory is just absolutely ballooning. And I expect to only see that continue. Finally, when it comes to how you can use this information to help you out as a consumer, first off, I think it's always good to get multiple trade-in offers on your vehicle so that you don't just take the first one, because the first might be the highest, but there's a pretty high chance that it's probably not going to be the highest. And also just get it done from different types of, dealers. So like, yeah, go to a traditional dealer and get your car appraised, but then also get your car appraised by like CarMax, and then also do like the digital retailers where you can just punch in your car information and then get a value back. I think that getting it from multiple sources is always the best thing, so you can really get an idea of what your car's worth and then know, what top dollar is for your car if you're going to wholesale it to a dealer. And then the other side of things is, well, if that doesn't work out, then like I said, more and more dealers are willing to do consignment deals where they will sell your car for you. Obviously, there's usually a fee associated with this, but this will allow you to get, retail or closer to retail for your car if you're in a situation where trade-in's just not high enough. Or you can, again, go sell it yourself. And something else to note is most dealers, not all dealers, but most dealers will work with what's called an in-and-out deal. So this is not consignment. This is where you sell your car to a third party, and then what you do is you then get that third party with the dealership that you're buying your car from, and you sell your car to the dealership for what you're selling it to the third party for, and then the dealership sells it to that third party for that amount. So you get the higher trade-in value with what you're selling it to that person for, and then the dealer actually gets another car deal out of it, so it's usually a big win for them. And then you also will typically also get tax credit in this situation. I said also like 3 times in a row, but anyways, you guys get the point. It's kind of like a win-win for everyone. And so that's another thing that you could do as a consumer, so you can get, again, retail or closer to retail on your car, but then also still get tax credit. And typically also, I forgot to mention this earlier, with the consignment deals, you usually will get tax credit in those situations. Again, it varies state to state. If you live somewhere like California, then yeah, tax credit's not really a thing. They want to squeeze you dry for every last tax dollar they can. But hopefully that helps you out. I'll see you.